It's a pleasure to speak with you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so happy to be spoken to. Thank you for having me.
No worries. How's your day going so far? Good?
Yeah, it's hectic. We just got our vinyl delivered because the album's out tomorrow. So we just got to open that up and we're all like excited and fuzzy from doing that.
How does it look?
Gorgeous. It's really
That's
nice. Yeah, there's like
like,
yeah, there's two colors and we were just really excited. It's like Christmas basically.
well, that cover is stunning. I can imagine on the big like vinyl, it looks even better.
Yeah, we're really happy with it. We're so honored that we get to use that art as well.
Mm. Well, of course, we are obviously, less than a day, less than 24 hours away from the release of this album, your brand new album, Do Not Go to War with the Demons of Mazandaran. Am I saying that correctly? Am I slowing it down too much?
It's Mazandaran. I'm really sorry that
Mazandaran.
Shem is currently moving loads of gear in and out of the room.
No, no
Just
worries. Life carries on, right?
but it is typical band life that you're seeing here. It's a little little window into our world of constantly moving gear from one place to another. Yes, it is pronounced Mazandaran, but anything goes. Don't worry too much about it. We didn't expect people to be for this to be rolling off the tongue when we named the album that.
Yeah, I've been practicing all the morning. I'm still getting it wrong. But of course, this is out October 4th via Church Road Records. Your head right now, this close to the end, the home stretch, as it were. Are you just super excited now to see the response to it? You want it out? Just get it out. Had enough of it. Just want it out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super excited. I can't wait for like friends and fans to hear the rest of the album. Yeah, it's felt like years and also like a really quick thing at the same time. It's a bit of both because like we recorded it in January. So it's like 10 months later, it's like a baby.
Yeah.
We've been waiting to release it this whole time, but then it took years for us to write it.
Mm, mm. Yeah, the period can feel really slow, but then of course, the closer you get, the busier you are, the more things you have to do, and it seems to never end. You're your own social media managers, you're promoting, you're doing this and doing that, and so on and so forth. What particularly has been keeping you busy the last couple of weeks? Is there any aspect of the build that you found particularly challenging or fun?
That's a good question. So we've still been playing lots of shows.
Hmm.
So we've played a bunch of shows. We played Abyssal Festival. We just played Revolution in Manchester. We've been getting ready for our release show next week, which is like our first time headlining in London and also our first time playing a really long set, which for me as a vocalist is it's really daunting. So we've been rehearsing a lot to get ready for that. Also, yeah, the social media is like super intense. It's not something I'm used to because like Church Road Records have been incredible at promoting the album and getting good folks like yourself like interested in talking to us and doing reviews and things. So I'm just sort of like trying to post everything and share things and do it right, and it's really nice experience actually, but it does take up more time than you would think.
So you are finding enjoyment in it because it can
Yeah,
be extremely hard work.
I do love it. I love working, especially on stuff like this. Like it's really fulfilling, and it's such an honor that someone, even one person, like goes out of their way to review something that you made and something that you weren't sure anyone was going to like or listen to. Like this whole process of releasing has been really surreal in a nice way, and it's been really
Hmm.
fun. Definitely like really, I don't know what the word is, like the emoji with the little face and his head is being blown off. That's how I feel
Okay,
right
yeah. Long may that feeling continue then, particularly, of course, as there's been an incredible response to the singles release so far. I feel like that gives us all, and certainly you guys, an impression of what the full thing is likely to, how the full thing is likely to be received, that positive response. Am I right?
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I mean, I think it's been really cool to see people react to the singles and the music videos we made as well. It's our first time making music videos, and we worked with the same director for both, so they'd have like a really good, like actually
Yeah.
connects to each other.
The
So
vibes there.
the vibe is there. I'm glad you think so. Yeah, it was such a fun experience. We've had such a great time just creating this and sharing it with people.
Yeah, the videos are incredible. I want to pick up one specifically because even they're all amazing in their own right, but none so more than perhaps waging war against God. That is an incredible looking video. How creatively satisfying is that aspect for you? Because of course, making the music and being a vocalist and all of that, obviously creatively very, very important for you. But then you've got this other side. You say that do you get a lot out of that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, to me, the way I approach the band is that it's more than just music. It's like my mum is a contemporary artist and she's multidisciplinary. And I really was inspired by that. So I really like that the way that I approach the band is kind of like an art project. So it was really something I always wanted to do was to make like a good music videos that like speak to a lot of like the film influences that I have. Like I'm super inspired by a lot of Iranian film directors, Color of Pomegranates as well, which is an incredible Armenian film. And like there's a film called The White Meadows, which is like stunningly beautiful. So things like that really inform like how I when you have the opportunity to like visually present yourself in a music video or on stage or whatever, like a lot of the time the thing that's holding you back is budget and time. But when you do find that opportunity to like really express yourself, it's so creatively fulfilling.
Mm. You feel like a sense of duty as well when it comes to like how you're creating the additional art around your music, be it videos, be it cover art or whatever it might be. Do you feel like a duty almost to bring your culture to the Western world?
I think to a degree, I feel like a social duty to
Mm.
like to create a sense of connection. I've like growing up in the 9/11 era, I experienced like quite a lot of racism at school and outside of school to a degree in like the music scene, not as much thankfully anymore. But I think this is like my way of trying to humanize people that look different because I think
Mm.
the metal scene is for people who feel like they're on the brink of or like on the edge of society or they don't necessarily feel like they fit in. And I think it's really important that people who like might not suit like look like the metal guy uniform, like be it you're not male or you're not white. I think it's really cool if they also had a place in the metal scene too, and I think they do. And that's kind of how I got here was hearing Middle Eastern influences in heavy metal because it's there. And seeing bands like System of a Down, for example, like singing about the Armenian genocide, and that really like inspired me a lot. And I think it's really an honor to be able to sort of hold a torch and illuminate like all the shared parts of our cultures, which is why I go back to like Mesopotamia and like all these people in the past who had the same desires and woes and sorrows as we did and who behaved in the same way. And like Mesopotamia is like the origin of the city and a lot of culture of what we associate with civilization. And like, yeah, the history of Iran, I think, is like really fascinating. There's so many parallels between that and the history of Europe and Britain. And I think, yeah, I think it's just neat. I love history. I think it's a really, once you understand the history of a place, you see how, it's never actually just about that one geographical location. Everything's connected just like we are, just like the metal scene is. And I think it's something that I really want to do. Like I feel really passionate about connecting with people and hopefully like making one or two people feel maybe change their views about people who don't
Mm.
look the same as them or the way that they approach like community in the metal scene.
It's vast, though. I mean, what you're describing and talking about there is vast to the point where it almost feels overwhelming. So,
Yeah.
focusing on this particular record, this specific thing, the vision, the earliest point of its creation, did you have a clear vision of what you wanted this to be in relation as well to the concept?
I definitely didn't. As you say, like the approach of this band, the scale is so vast that it's really difficult to find an anchor point.
Mm.
And I remember like feeling for quite a long time I was researching for what I was going to use as like the fulcrum of the creative aspect of the record in terms of like the lyrics and stuff. And I found that the Shahnameh, the Persian Book of Kings, was like the perfect point for me to focus on because it's a really great sort of foundational point to like kind of go here and go there, but then everything is still connected because that whole book is actually a manual for how to to like rule, to be a king, to like
Hmm.
to manage people. Really, it's kind of like a crazy HR management historical document, but it's a really really good narrative tale that's also like it contains a lot of the earliest folklore and history and mythology of Iran. So it's like it's the perfect text to really do that with. And yeah, like Do Not Go to War, the Demons of Mazandaran, that's the title of one of the chapters. It's about a king that gets greedy, and he expands his kingdom too far and it goes south. And I think, it's very on the nose, like that's still extremely relevant. It's happening right now. And it's happening in multiple countries in multiple different ways. And even if you don't think of it in a geopolitical way, I'm sure people have had individual experiences where someone has been, you know, either they've expanded too far, they've tried to get something that they shouldn't have tried to, shouldn't have been greedy about, or someone's done that to them and screwed them over. And I think that's like a universally human thing that humans do.
It is, I don't know, it's fascinating and depressing to a degree that you can take a subject, that's a mythological subject like this that's based in history and so on, and be able to apply it so clearly to a modern day issue, but also a personal one too. Were you aware of that quite early on, though, when it came to the creation of the album, that you were going to be able to draw real world and modern parallels to it, personal parallels?
So the personal and the stuff specifically to do with Iran, absolutely. That was
Mm.
always my intention. I did not expect it to be like geopolitically right now. Holy crap! Like I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah,
But it's
unfortunately, yeah.
unfortunately, yeah.
What about the writing process? Did it differ in regard, like how much did it differ compared to the previous album?
A lot. It differed a huge amount. So the previous album was pretty much like very organic. It was jammed out. Everything was sort of written on the spot, and you can really tell. And like that's got its strengths and its weaknesses. For this one, I really wanted to feel like a little bit more creatively expressive. So basically, I communicated the concepts to Shem, our guitarist.
Mm.
He started to like sort of build the skeletons and the bare bones of the songs. I would rearrange things. I'd be like, put that here, put that there, cut this, blah blah blah, and we eventually started to like assemble the bones of the album. And we've started working with like an absolutely incredible technical death metal drummer, Cal. And he basically like we picked a lot of like Middle Eastern, Iranian, Turkish, Egyptian rhythms, which are like this was my main sort of focus point on this album. Was I did not want normal like 4/4 beats or anything like that,
Mm.
because that's something that is important to me. Is I really wanted to have that Eastern feel, like, and for it to be authentic. So we did a lot of study in like Middle Eastern music and makam and different music systems. And yeah, Cal like really really beautifully incorporated those rhythms. And I was very like particular. I wanted lots of double pedal, lots of bolt thrower influence, things like that. And then all the guys, they brought their influence to it, and it's stunning. It's I love what they've done with it. And then we stuck the vocals on at the end.
Do you have a preference? So that's two different styles and two different directions, two different processes for two different albums. Do you have a particular favorite that worked better for you this time or the previous?
This time, definitely.
Mm.
The previous time, like I was still finding my feet as a vocalist. We all were finding our feet as musicians, and like we just had a different dynamic that I didn't feel like I could really push myself forward creatively. And I was like, I think as a lyricist and with what I'm trying to do with the album, like the current dynamic is a lot better. I feel a lot more like I can express who I am and what I'm trying to do, and there's like not things like holding me back. Whereas when you're sort of in a room, there's only so much you can do in that moment. Like you can't layer things, you can't restructure things, you can't be as like playful or intentional with the songwriting, I feel.
Is this just like this development? Is it just time, experience, things you've learned over the last couple of years you've just developed as an artist that you've got to this stage?
I'd say so, yeah, definitely. And I think the people you work with makes a huge difference as well. So like working with Cal, it's like been an absolute game changer. Like now we can just be like, can you do this absolutely inhuman drumming thing here? And he's like, I guess I can. And he could just do it and it's amazing. And he can replicate it live perfectly as well, which is stunning. Yeah, like that's made a huge difference. And we have improved a lot. Like I've me and Shem have studied with like RKO ethnomusicologists, and like done a bunch of like we're obsessive geeks about music and
Oh yeah.
history. Me and with history, me and him with music. So yeah, we're always like talking to each other about like new drum beats we found or like this strange scale and things like that. Yeah.
Do you sticking like to the storytelling aspect of the record specifically, what feelings do you hope um are felt as people listen to this? What are you kind of hoping that they feel?
That's interesting. I just hope that people feel something,
Hmm.
anything at
Yeah.
all. I would love that if people felt something, because that's, then you've achieved your creative goal if you can inspire emotion in people. Personally, I was communicating my grief and sense of isolation and sorrow and hope. Hope is like, even though I sing a lot about death and separation, there is always like a seed of hope in there. Um, yeah, I think that I don't know. I never really thought about it like that. I try and focus so much on it just being satisfied with it myself. I guess it's kind of selfish of me, but I do hope that yeah, people feel something.
I mean, I think it's super important, of course, that you are satisfied yourself. You know, that's the most important starting point of any record release. I always worry that, particularly when it comes to say reviews and things like that, that we get bogged down in the nuances, the technicalities of how well everyone is playing and well, was that rhythm good and stuff like that. That sometimes the feel, like how does it make you feel, gets lost. So I'm always intrigued to sort of see. What people when that to me sometimes is the best comments in your social media, people saying I felt this when I listened to the record.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that yeah, it's a really good point. I think for me, I put so much pain and emotion in there that like I hope that people can feel that and
Yeah.
respond to it and like how they feel. I guess it's like, yeah, that's really interesting. Like the relationship you have with someone else's emotion. And I guess as an artist, you get bogged down in your own emotion so much a lot of the time that like I just kind of assume that people will listen to it and feel the same. But I don't think, thinking about it now that you said it, like I don't think I want them to feel, I don't want to control how the listener feels. I simply want to elicit some kind of reaction, be that surprise or disgust or hatred or connection or love or whatever. Like I think if you can just get to that point, you've definitely succeeded.
Well, the joy is that you don't get to control it. That's the thing. As much as you might
Yeah.
say, even if you had gone out of your way to try and control it, inevitably you would fail. And I've spoken to artists and stuff like that meant to say one thing in a track, meant to express this, and it's been the opposite thing. But they've ended up loving that because of that, regardless, because they feel something.
Definitely, 100%. I mean, we found with waging war against God, when we posted that on social media, a ton of Christians and a ton of atheists just started arguing with each other in the comments just because it said
Yes.
God. And like the song was never about either. It wasn't a religious song in that sense. But people just don't, like, a lot of the time people aren't going to read the description, and why should they? So I get why people did that, but it was insane to see like all these people being like, why write a song about God? There isn't a God. And these other people being like, amen, praise the Lord, and just like quoting bits of the Bible. It was so surreal.
I mean, it's online comments, it's been fire, the sky is blue and it'll turn into an argument, that kind of thing. So, I mean, I'm so surprised. Um, Then let's look at some lyrics, if you wouldn't mind. Specifically, I want to kind of know, did you have difficulty marrying sort of the historical storytelling, fable aspects of the record with the more tangible aspects, like what's been, going on around the last couple of years and further on?
I didn't actually. I found it really natural. So I read a lot. I'm surrounded by books right now. I'm particularly interested in like historical texts, especially like old languages. I'm a PhD dropout. I've done like master's degrees and things like that where I go quite deep into history. So for me it's like it's not boring for me to read about like really probably objectively quite boring things. So
Mm,
when I do read old texts, I oftentimes feel very connected to them. I find it easy to identify like emotional undercurrents and like things that connect to each other. And I think that like old, especially Mesopotamian texts and Iranian poetry, it's just stunning. It's so underrated in the West, and I think it's actually informed a lot of Western literature and art and things like that. So I'd love to like bring that back and like shine it. It's like proto metal. Like a lot of the time people forget about it, but it's
mhm.
there, and it's like this such an important genre that I think it's cool to like. I think it's important to look at the roots of things, because oftentimes it can reveal stuff that wasn't obvious before and in what's around us in the present.
Again, though, there's so much available to you, and it's so big and wide and often open to interpretation. Was there any specific areas that you found quite challenging when it comes to the lyrics? You're trying to express your thoughts and feelings on a wide array of subjects while also talking about history and this, fables and stuff like that. What were some of the more challenging aspects?
Definitely, one of the things I found really challenging is there's like a Neo-Babylonian incantation to summon a ghost in
Ooh.
the last song on the track. Memorizing that is really difficult. So when I was in the studio, I was reading it from the book because like that's the easiest thing to do. It's in like ancient languages. Like it's not easy to internalize an ancient language when you don't necessarily know the meaning of every single word.
Mm,
So that you memorize the sounds and you know the general idea. But like it's so hard. I'm really worried about remembering it for like when we perform it next week, because this song is like it's the most complicated song we've ever written as well. It's got crazy time signature changes. There's like reversing time signature sections, and like the vocal placement is absurd. And I like when we wrote it, when we write, we don't think about how we're going to perform it live, because I think it's more
right.
important to have a really good song on record, because more people are going to listen to that, and you can always change it for when you play it live, which is what I'm trying to
Of
do with
course.
this right now. But yeah, like remembering a whole incantation is pretty tough. I mean, there's some Sumerian that's like it's just one line, it's really easy, but like 4 or 5 lines, that's when it starts to get really tricky.
Could you not almost get away with it via theatrics? So ultimately, if it's like a theatrical performance to a certain degree, well, you are effectively reading it from a book because it's part of a theatrical show.
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about that. I'm
Mm.
also like, the thing is, if I get it wrong, no one's going to be able to tell. So,
You say
unless,
that, but you'll end up with one person there who
yeah,
speaks and understands it language clearly and plainly.
it's true. I mean, I don't know how many like native Sumerian speakers are walking around Camden right now, but there is a chance, there's a possibility someone's going to be like, stop the show. We'll see.
It's Camden. It's a hotbed of everyone and everything. So don't count it out.
It's true.
What about pushing yourself from a vocal? I mean, it is clear. Anyone that listens to this record knows, can hear you push yourself vocally many, many times throughout it. Is there one specific point that you can point to or remember that where you knew you'd pushed yourself to the limits?
Um, yeah, I mean the whole thing is like I don't know why when I perform and write, I feel like maybe it's a imposter syndrome thing. I feel like if I'm not at the very edge of my ability, that I'm not good enough.
Hmm.
So I'm constantly like just barreling through, and like I do want to do some more like dynamic singing for the next record where it's like more vulnerable and softer and things like that, and to a degree there is a little bit on this album. But yeah, vocally I'd say there's like a section in Ghazal that's like really like right at the edge of like where I could even sing in terms of a belt, because like because of like how heavy and loud the guitars and the bass and the drums are, you kind of have to belt with what we're doing, so that there isn't much room for me to go up and down a lot of the time. And then there's like a few, there's a bunch of notes where I'm like belting at the very top of my range across the album. So whenever we're playing live, there's like sections in the set where once I pass that hill, I'm like, okay, I've done that particularly difficult bit. Now there's only like one or two particularly difficult bits left. So I just gotta, once I get past those, and I just breathe a sigh of relief, and like I relax a little bit more into what I'm doing after those bits.
An incredible amount of work has gone into this album. That much is clear. Those that have heard the singles will know this, and obviously those who've already heard the album will know it too as well. In fact, by the time this interview comes out, which will be tomorrow as of time recording, the album will be out. So hopefully everyone will have heard it by then. But hopefully all that work is paid off, and it can be an incredibly enjoyable experience as well. So when you reflect on the entire creative period of this album creation, beginning to literal end, what are some of your favorite memories?
Definitely being in the studio with Lewis
Mm.
Johns and Kel Pinchin. Lewis is an amazing dog called Olive. And that was just, it was such a nice experience, like getting to just do music every single day, for like, extended period of time, and just really immersing myself in the creation of the album and working with such incredible people who really like made space for me to be creative. And it was really like one of the first times I really felt like I could just breathe as a vocalist, and just be like, I'd be like, oh, what if we did this? What if we did like a 10-part harmony here? I could do stuff like that. It was really nice. As well, like going on tour of Green Lung, that was amazing. So that was like a big
Ooh.
part of like this year, was doing that. And yeah, just being with the guys and playing shows, and playing those new songs live and seeing people react to it has just been a real pleasure.
Well, on that front, then, what would success for this album look like for you?
I feel like I'm already, just releasing it was a success. Just
Ooh.
getting it out the door for me has been enough. Like, there were times where this year where we'd be driving home and we'd be thinking, we can't crash and die now, because what if the album doesn't come out? And then there was a certain point where everything was in place where we were like, okay, now like whatever happens, it's coming out. Like no one can stop this from coming out. And that was my success, the fact that we did it, and we got to do it, and the fact that people are enjoying it is just such an amazing bonus.
Long may that success continue and roll on to the next release, and so on and so forth. But as you stand right now, it is October 2024, and the year is almost to an end. What do you think this record says about you, the band Lowen, as you stand here right now?
I think it's like a giant middle finger to oppression. It's like a big old fu to people who think that folks like me don't belong. It's also like a huge welcoming hug to people that want to belong and want to feel connected, and just like a big celebration of the shared history of the people on this planet.
Incredible, incredible words. And of course, we've mentioned it a couple of times, so I'm going to bring it up properly now. The 11th of October, Black Heart in London. An album release show, an incredible venue if you know it. If you're in London, of course you bloody do. What's the plan here? Album in full? Is that what we're doing?
We're doing the album in full. So the Black Heart was where we did our first ever show.
Yeah.
So we're gonna play the first song that we played at our first show, and then we're gonna do the whole album. It's probably not gonna be in exact order, because we're actually gonna film a music video, a live music video, while we're playing the show. So no pressure on us. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It'll be fun.
Get down there, pack it out, man. You're gonna be in a music video. That's definitely well worth packing that room out. But it's the Black Heart. It's a nice, sweaty little venue. So yeah, that'll be incredible. But obviously, the work doesn't end here. It's not like you release the album tomorrow, do that show next week, and then you get to chill out. It continues for months and months and months as you continue to push this record. And of course, you're an artist, you're creative. No doubt there are lots of things in the works already. I don't want to get into that because we're want to talk about what's now, but I do want to kind of look ahead to 2025 and a specific goal. Do you have a goal, or what's a goal that you would like to achieve in 2025?
So we might end up touring more in 2025. So That's one of our goals. We've got some shows booked. We've already announced the Underworld
Yeah.
shows. Our first time playing the Underworld for Chaos Fury. Um, and yeah, like we're talking about touring with a bunch of folks. So that might happen. Being able to afford to tour is a big goal for 2025 because it's really expensive.
Oh yeah.
And you know, we're already like beginning to form the next album. We're starting to write already because it never ends as an artist. You're just always making stuff. You can't stop. So we're excitedly forming plans within plans.
Excellent. That's good to hear. Fingers crossed as well. Some festivals come calling. Summer period next year gets busy for you. That would be really, really lovely too. But for now, of course, we focus on the album. A couple more minutes of your time, if you do not mind, Nina. This is Ozzy Osbourne, and in his head are random cards of everything and anything. And I basically just pull some out at random. You answer them.
Let's do it. Let's go
Cool.
Aussie phone.
Well, I should mention there are many submissions in here from other bands and artists that we spoke to over the years. So, what we begin with what does the word comfort mean to you?
Oh God, yeah. A hot cup of tea,
Yeah.
rain pattering on the window, a warm cat or dog on your lap purring as you read a book with like a big box of rose and violet creams next to you. That's comfort.
Oh, wow. Do you have pets, a cat or a dog?
We have an adopted cat called Goblin.
Fabulous. I've got two around here somewhere as well.
Oh,
So
nice.
I adore them. All right. Uh, oh, that was blank. I've written that one. There we go. Name a band. Name a band that is still in your must-see bucket list.
Typo negative because they'll never
Oh,
play. It's a bit late, but yeah, probably typo.
my wife has a saw typo basically like a week or two.
Oh,
Maybe not necessarily a week or two before the end. She was likes
oh
to tell me
no.
that story whenever, yeah. So was not a good show, put it that way.
I can imagine Pete did not have a
Mm.
good like yeah, after a point he kind of didn't wasn't easy for him anymore. Yeah,
No, no, but of course, an incredible artist and band ultimately that's left a indelible mark on many, many people.
absolutely.
Okay, Nick, the vocalist of After Smoke Clears, asks this. You have 24 hours left on Earth. What are you doing?
Definitely the book with a cup of tea and some chocolate. I'm gonna eat so much food. Just gonna eat loads of cake. Oh, I'm gonna like have a big party with everyone I love, like all my family and friends. And then probably just like I don't know, take some mushrooms and like I'm straight edge, but at that point I'd probably be
At
like,
that
ah,
point,
yeah,
no, absolutely. At that point, what does it matter?
yeah, I'm going
Okay.
out. I'm gonna go with a bang. Yeah.
Matt, the vocalist of Haraway, asks, where is the best pizza spot?
Oh, it's a good question. I mean, we just had Lost Souls Pizza do our little secret album party. That was really good pizza, and they do like cool like black charcoal based pizza. So that's pretty neat. I guess that's the best. I'm gonna gatekeep my favorite one because I don't want like people to know where I live because it's local to me.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. I get that. Well, no, you mentioned Lost Souls, so I want to shout them out too. It's one of my favorite
Yeah.
places in Camden when they obviously had the fire and closed for a long
Mhm.
period of time. It was a great loss. It's fantastic to see it back.
Yeah, they're really, really good pizza as well.
Yes, and good, very good cocktails. But yeah, you can get quite drunk in there quite quickly. What has been your favorite holiday destination to date?
Oh, that's a good question. I went to Peru
Ooh.
well, a few years ago. It feels recent. And that was incredible. I did like the Inca Trail. I trekked through the Amazon and the mountains, and it was just stunning. And the metal bars well, I went to Chile afterwards. The metal bars in South America are just absolutely incredible. And yeah, I love nature and history, so it was the perfect holiday, and just got to do loads of crazy stuff.
Fantastic. And not one that you normally think people think to like kind of go on holiday for, really.
I guess, yeah.
Do you have any tattoos? If
I
no,
do.
would you get one? If yes, tell me about one.
I have so I only got tattooed for the first time last year, but now I have quite a lot. So most of my shin is tattooed, and then I've got my stomach, back, ribs, and upper thighs done as well. It's a big sort of like body piece style thing.
Wow, so you got the bug.
Yeah, well, yeah, like it's expensive, but
Yeah.
I kind of saved myself as a canvas for one artist. So, and like I waited to find the right person, and she's amazing. She's AP Tattoo on Instagram. Probably shouldn't share, but whatever. Like, I mean, she does, yeah, whatever. She lives in like Germany, so when she's either here or I'm there, like I just she just like does me for a day or two, and it's very painful. I don't know
Oh,
why. My second tattoo was like on my stomach and ribs, which is the worst decision I've ever made, but it looks great, so I'm happy with it.
no, I mean, yeah, it, it hurts both the wallet and the physical. I have, you know, I have a lot as well.
Yeah.
I think I'm torn between I have a rib one as well, which I think is probably the most painful one I've ever experienced. But I also will never forget I have a lower back tattoo, what they call, for want
Oh.
of a better word, a tramp stamp. That thing. But that one, right, which should have been easy, ended up
Yeah.
was horrific for me because
Oh.
the pressure on my kidneys basically meant every 5 minutes I felt like I was going to vomit. So
Oh
I had to
no.
stop and do that and then so on. So I always kind of remember that as being the most like egregious one I ever did. It's not even
You
that
poor
bad.
thing. Oh, the pain that you get in your organs is horrific. Like I don't mind. So when I got my shins done, I didn't feel any pain at all. But the stomach
Wow.
and the ribs, oh my God, like you just feel like you're dying. It's really weird. And like you get heart pain and yeah, as like I'm very like health conscious, so it's a really freaky feeling. And yet somehow there is like a weird tribalistic aspect of getting a tattoo where like you go through like a rite of pain and then you're left
Mm.
with something afterwards. It's really satisfying.
I found that incredible. You did shin and didn't feel pain because, of course, that's famously a really, really painful one.
The knee ditch, so they did the knee ditch as well because it's a very big, it's like my whole shin and it goes like up
Oh,
round into the backs of the knees. The knee ditch was a bit painful, but nothing compared to stomach and ribs.
there it is. Okay, two more. Second last one. Do you collect anything?
Oh, probably books. Yeah, I have like about 3,000 books.
Wow. Where are you keeping them? That's a
Most of them
library.
are in this room behind me, and I have a few boxes upstairs. Yeah, it's like I've been a voracious reader since I was a kid. Like I was kind of a freak kid. All I did was read. Yeah.
I have to ask then, because clearly, if you keep those books as important to you, and I am a big fan. You can see a bookshelf behind me. We have two others that are in a separate room because there was no more room in here. But even I have had no choice because of limited space to then adopt a Kindle for other things.
Oh.
Do you are you kind of are you still are you avoiding going electronic with this?
I love physical format stuff. Like I just love the feel of
Yeah,
reading a book and I love being able to look at it after I've read it and remember it. Like I
yeah.
every morning I walk through this room and I skim all these books and they're like old friends. Like I just love feeling that they're there. It's a strange thing, but that's what I probably collect. And like I try not to buy too many, but I do have a lot, and a lot of them are like quite close to me. I have people in my family are authors, and I
Ooh.
grew up hanging out with authors and poets, and just like they'd give me books, and it would be like a thing, like a point of connection between me and that person. So I really love them.
And of course, in London, you can just find some incredible bookstores, you know, small independent bookstores on pretty much any other street. So, I mean, incredible just to find stuff. Completely understand where you come from there. All right, last one. What is a recent experience that made you feel old?
Oh man, there's quite a lot of those now. So we were when we were touring with Green Lung, we played a
Mm.
show in I think it was Belfast, and after when we were loading out for the show, we had to walk through a youth nightclub and it was full of like 16, 17 year olds dancing to like 2000s hip hop, which I guess for them was like old and goldies or golden oldies, whatever you
Yeah.
call it. And I was in my pajamas because I just had a shower and like carrying loads of gear. And it was like the third or fourth day of the tour. So I was a bit like disheveled. And we just walked through a nightclub of like really drunk teenagers. And it was like being in an episode of The Inbetweeners because they were all just like they were vomiting and drinking and clearly just like going through like their first breakups and get-togethers and things, and it was just this grizzled metal band just walking through them with like you know for 30-year-olds and whatever. Like I felt ancient doing that, and they all acted like we weren't there. It was like something out of a comedy film. It's just like just walking through this nightclub with our guitars. It was hilarious.
Happens to us all, sadly. Retro noughties, hip hop. That's depressing indeed. But what, of course, can't be ignored is the new album, Do Not Go to War with the Demons of Mazandaran, out on October 4th via Churchwood Records. Time recording tomorrow, but as time you're watching this, it's out now. So immediately finish this interview and then go jump on Spotify, Apple Music, whatever freaking streaming platform you need, or go pick up the vinyl, the CD, and so on from Churchwood Records, your Bandcamp and stuff like that, of course, as well. It's out and about. And of course, let's not forget tickets for the October 11th. That is October 11th at the Black Heart in London for the album release show. Nina, I really appreciate you giving me your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to hang out with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website where reviews, news and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at GBHBL. Just search for GBHBL and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.